Bot Factory is a deck building, dice manipulation, and contract fulfillment game for 2 to 4 players that plays in around 30 minutes per player. Players race around the board to gain resources, upgrade their factory, build a deck of schematics, and gain inspection cards to prepare for their upcoming inspection. When they reach the inspection point, players attempt to fulfill as many inspection cards that they have gathered to earn points and unlock upgrades before starting on their journey around the board again. After a player has passed 6 inspections, the game ends, and the player with the most victory points wins. Each turn has 4 phases. First, the player plays 1 schematic card from their hand to their assembly line at the top of their player board. Schematics help players gain resources, access abilities, and most importantly, build bot parts. Bot parts upgrade the player's capabilities in a specific way, such as increasing hand size or movement range, but they are also the key component to passing inspections. To play a schematic, the player first shifts all current schematics to the right to make room for the new one. The schematic pushed off the assembly line goes to the player's discard pile. Next, the player adds the dice listed on the top left of the schematic card to their conveyor belt, again pushing all dice to the right to make room for the new dice. In Phase 2, the player builds schematics by assigning dice to them. Each schematic requires a specific value and color of dice, but players can use their factory tiles to modify the dice and help satisfy these requirements. Generally, the further along a player moves their dice on their conveyor belt, the more powerful modifications they can access. In this example, the player decides to build a bot part using 2 blue dice. This schematic requires a blue 4 and a blue 5. Luckily, the player can use their factory tile to increase the die values by 2 to meet the schematic's requirement. When building a bot part, the player must immediately add it to the part storage area by adding the part to the lowest available space of any column. The player should add the part and attempt to match patterns on their inspection cards. After adding the bot part, the player can mark their bonus earned on their production tracker. In Phase 3, the player now must move the robot across the main board and perform an action. Players must plan carefully as each movement brings them closer to inspection. Actions include gathering resources, buying new schematics, purchasing factory tiles, and obtaining inspection cards. In Phase 4, the player draws until they reach their hand limit and refills any purchase display areas. Then play passes to the next player in turn order. If the player reaches the inspection point during their movement phase, instead of performing an action, the player will attempt to pass inspection. They do so by fulfilling as many inspection cards as they can by matching patterns in the part storage. Cards can be rotated by 90 degrees in any direction to make the patterns match. Patterns across multiple inspection cards can overlap, allowing the player to fulfill multiple cards using the same items. After passing inspection, the player earns the victory points and reputation listed on the inspection card. Victory points determine the winner of the game, and reputation allows the player to gain bonus resources, abilities, and even unlock endgame scoring conditions. At the end of inspection, players must discard any items used to fulfill their inspection cards. They now will flip the inspection cards and remove a check mark from their player board, placing it on the flipped cards to show that they have passed the inspection. The removed checkmark also unlocks an extra ability for the rest of the game. They are now ready to start their journey across the board again. Once a player has passed 6 inspections, removing all their checkmarks, the game ends and the player with the most victory points wins. And that's Bot Factory. Thank you for watching.